Is there a person that makes you or has in your past made you feel safe? My granny, oh my gosh, rocking on her lap when I was a little kid, and I can hear the the rocking chair. Yeah, and I can be taken right back there. And the more I practice these memories, the quicker they are to come and bring me calm in the moment. Everyone, welcome back to another episode of Resilience, ESSDACK Resilience Quick Bites. Isn't that what we're called? Resilience Quick Bites?
You've got it, Ginger. You're right on target.
If you are one of the people who is lucky enough to be listening, like our all our previous episodes, yay. But if you are one of the super lucky ones who happen to be watching us now, hi, this is what we look like. This is brand new format for us. Thank you to our amazing producer, Glenn, who's put all this together and surprised us today. I thought we were just doing a recording, but nope, we're on camera, so you get real. But anyway, I want to say thanks. Today's episode, Eric, I want to dive into this really quickly because this is a quick bite.
Okay.
Listen, education, well, not just in education, but the whole daggum world, or at least in America, we are all operating. Can I say this? We're operating on a level of stress right now that is at an all-time high for many of us.
I believe that to be 100% true.
Whether it's around our politics, whether it's around things that are happening around financials in our world, whether it's job related, which all of these just seem to be feeding on each other, off each other, and really increasing the stress load on each human in the midst. And we're seeing it when we're in schools. We're experiencing it ourselves. And as a matter of fact, just last week, I moved homes. And I got to a point in my day in the week, this was 2-3 days before the actual movers showed up, that I was paralyzed. And it was a rough day. And I sat next to Carmen, another person on our team, and kind of I asked for help without being able to ask for help, but she saw, and so she was able to use some of the strategies. And so that really, to me, is something I want to share with our listening audience today. And Eric, you and I had a conversation before we started recording, that what we're going to talk about today is very similar to what you share with the same sort of stress relieving, but in a smaller zone, right?
Yes. I love the perspective you're coming from. It reminds me of a time recently when I just felt very overwhelmed with things, one after another. And like you said, just, oh my gosh, what am I going to do to ground myself, to regulate myself? The flavor that we'll talk about soon
in this episode,
in this one, is from a classroom educational perspective in the moment. Not necessarily chronic, a little bit acute maybe. Maybe students are struggling with emotional regulation and you need to act quickly.
Is that the one we're talking about right now?
Well, I thought we were talking about the chronic one, and we were tying them together because they are so similar and they go together really well. They're just a little bit different situation with the same goal.
Yes. So
how about you dive in?
This is going to be a 2-for episode. So stick around for the next one that comes through. But this is the one that deals with us who are dealing with the stress that's every day, constant, and we're operating on this high-low level of stress that's just always in the background, and there are just days where it just comes bubbling up to the top, and we're just almost feel paralyzed, or we know that we're acting in some sort of way that isn't where we want to be. And so what are some things that we can do to get ourselves back online? Because people will say, oh, take a bubble bath or go for a run or just do some breathing. And you know what? That really helps for a little bit, but it doesn't really get to the deep core, or at least it doesn't for me and a lot of other folks I'm aware of this stress. And I want to share with you the idea of the inner and outer resources. I recently wrote a blog post about it. So if you're watching, you're going to see that I'm looking at notes here. But it came from the community resilience model. Elaine Karras is where I first got introduced to this concept. And then I've taken it, I think, maybe a little bit farther in that space. But when I talk about internal and external resources, it's really us taking a moment and saying, what has been my experience in life that has been really calming or empowering or invigorating or the opposite of what I'm feeling right now? Who has been there? What has been there? What has my experience been? And how can I take that external resource and bring it alive for me right now and just take that breath of oxygen in? So, for instance, to maybe recall a safe and loving memory. Think back to a time when you maybe felt totally at ease, or a place where you're always at ease. Maybe you're at a cozy nook or reading a book, or maybe it's the laughter of a family gathering, right? So what is that detail? And for just take 3 minutes, 5 minutes, 10 minutes if you can, but 3 minutes are great, and just be there. Put yourself in that space. Visualize it if you're one of those people. What does it smell like? What is the temperature? What's the textures that your hands, that your feet, that you notice when you're in that space? And put yourself in that space. And if you can, tell somebody about it while you're there. Talk about it. And if you can't, talk about it out loud to somebody who's nobody, or just be there. That's one. A safe, loving memory. Another is recall a place that brings you calm. For me, there's a particular place on the Emporia State University campus that's underneath pine trees that I noticed decades ago. And there are times where I will just get real quiet and just breathe, take a breath, and be back in underneath those pines in front of Plum Hall. And I can hear the wind blowing, and I can feel the pine needles that are soft, that are different than the grass that I walked on to get there. And so what is that? And how can I breathe that in and visualize that? Is there a person that makes you, or has in your past made you feel safe? My granny, oh my gosh, rocking on her lap when I was a little kid, and I can hear the the rocking chair. Yeah, and I can be taken right back there. And the more I practice these memories, the quicker they are to come and bring me calm in the moment. And the more regularly I practice them, my nervous system gets back to a place of, okay, that didn't change the politics, that didn't change the whatever's happening over here, but it just gave me a moment to breathe and maybe realign to, I think life's going to be okay, at least for the rest of the day. Other things, recall a skill or a hobby that you love, that you're good at. Recall an animal or a pet that you've loved. Recall a spiritual guide, a faith, or a belief. You know, people will lean on prayer. There's a reason for this. It calms our nervous systems. And that's what we're looking for, is how can we get our attention for just a moment to take a break from the noise and the chaos of the stress and bring in that safety and love.
I love all that. I think I'm more calm. Some of the things you described. They were just so calming and regulating and soothing and just loving. I could totally see how to be calm. Now I have a question. Mm-hmm. For chronic stress, because we are living in a world, mm-hmm. and no matter what you're going through, whether it's mm-hmm. family things, political things, personal things, just everybody has this stress. To really help our overall mental health for the long run. Mm-hmm. Thoughts on how often should we do that? How often we should just take a moment and let ourselves remember those moments in life, those people in life that bring us calm, to really positively impact our long-term mental health. Thoughts on that? Yeah,
a lot of this work we talk about connecting with. We're not just remembering these things, we're connecting with them, and we're connecting our nervous system with what it used to be. Rewiring the path that used to be in our brains. And so how often? To me, that's just regular dosing. Yeah. The moment you're starting to feel overwhelmed and stressed, where is the next moment you can take the pause? When can you do it intentionally? I'm going to tell you that a few years ago, I was in the most stressful moments of my life. And it was real rough. And every single morning I woke up to an app that would say, "Good morning." And I was like, what is that? I was like, what? And then it would take me through a series of mindful stretches and yoga. And as I'm laying in bed, before I even get out of bed, and just that, and it would always end with some sort of affirmation that I just, even if it wasn't true, I could say, but what if it was true? And I just breathe it in just for those 5 or 10 minutes. And I did it every day. And I swear to goodness, that really allowed me to survive a time that it was rough. It was before you even knew me.
You know what? I wish I had known you longer. You have been a delight to know. But I'm going to say, folks, I think what Ginger is talking about here is so brilliant and wonderful and helpful. We're all going through stress. Life can be tough. When we think about the brain science and how our brains are wired for connection, to be able to connect and to be out there in relationships and live our best life, these are great strategies because we have to be grounded. We have to take moments to help our mental health, to be regulated, to be calm, and allow us to connect with others. So
yeah, and some of
great
us,
ideas. I love it. So.
Some of us aren't extroverts where we want to connect with other people and be around other people to get our regulation. I just want to be by my freaking self where it's calm and peaceful and I can trust everything that's going on, right? And so this might be helpful for those folks.
You know, and I love this, and we're going to wrap up here and move on to another one but I feel like this has so much connection to classroom applications and sometimes what we're going to talk about the anchors and breathing and pause button. I mean, just so much good connection here. So, all right, folks, that is a great episode of Quick Bites. I hope you really enjoyed that. If you like more information, want to talk more about that, reach out to the Resilience team at ESSDACK. But this is Eric Noctigo with Ginger Lewin from the ESSDACK Resilience team, and we'll be back with another Quick Bites very soon.